We begin this week officially 6 months out from midterm election day. There is a lot at stake for Republicans and Democrats when it comes to the president and his agenda. The GOP advantage in both chambers on the Hill is razor thin, and the push is on to grow their margin of majority on the right. Control of the U.S. House could go almost either way, with a historically high number of retiring members on both sides of the political aisle. A fight over some open seats, some Democrats expressing optimism now over a chance as well to flip the Senate blue. The fight is on. Just sat down with 8 voters spanning the political spectrum. Voters' voices. In the front row, David, a Republican, Susan, a Democrat, Dominic, an independent, and Angela, a Republican. Let's meet the back row now. James, Democrat, David P., because we have a couple of Davids, Republican, Mary Josephine, an independent, and Dan, a Democrat. And here is a look at how all the voters overall are feeling 6 months before Election Day. On the generic congressional ballot, an average of recent national polling, Democrats lead by just under 6 points. But when it comes to how voters view the political parties, Republicans have the advantage. Voters see the GOP more favorably by a margin of about 3 points. A majority have a negative view of both political parties. I want to get a view of how you're going to vote. So in the past, how many of you have regularly voted in a midterm election? All right. Not everybody. How about this time around? Everybody. Everybody voting? Just about. All but one. So I'm going to come to you. I want to know what holds you back this time from voting.
Well, honestly, what has been holding me back is I feel like the change that I was expecting from the president himself, I don't feel in my everyday life, which is concerning to me. I still feel, obviously, that, prices are very, very, very high. If you're going to the grocery store or just in general, because inflation still exists. Unfortunately, now we have the higher gas prices, which really hurt, everyday people in their pocket. And I've voted my entire life. And the frustration right now is, it's just unbelievable because what really changes? I just feel like that we're kind of, kind of steering the ship in the same direction.
That's interesting. So, Mary Josephine, you are, describe yourself, I should say, because it's not a party, but it's how you vote, independent. So you're independent from either political party, and you just don't feel strong about any of your choices right now. Susan, are you nodding at me? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the political climate is very divided. I think that I'm a Democrat, but I think that a lot of the independents, they feel left out. Just a classic example, they can't vote in the primaries. So how are you going to, encourage voter activity if they can't even vote in a primary and they have to wait till November when in New York, the primary already decides who the candidate will be in office?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And my notes have you as a moderate Democrat. I'm just curious, what does that mean to you right now?
I feel, and I had this conversation with Dominic before we came on, I feel like a lot of independents have been disenfranchised. I feel strongly that I register as a Democrat. I was a Bill Clinton Democrat. Bill Clinton was the first president I voted for. And I feel like the Democratic Party has lost its ways, but I don't want to be an independent because then I can't vote in the primary. So I want to stay as a Democrat because I want to be able to vote.
So critical. This is like a fresh perspective this morning because a lot of times independents don't really speak up about that. They just don't vote until they can. But Mary Josephine, you make a good point. You can't even get warmed up to vote because you're not included in that primary process by name. All right, a recent Gallup poll shows economic issues are dominating when it comes to the most important issues to voters right now. Top mentions: inflation, energy, housing, healthcare. The cost for all of them people are concerned about. And those account for nearly 1/3 of the answers in the open-ended surveys that we looked at. So that's interesting. If you just write your own, actually healthcare, according to Gallup, bubbles up to the top. David in the front row, I know you are a Republican. What do you say about this?
Yeah, I think it comes down to priorities. People want to see the messaging, the laws, and everything that comes with it reflect the voters' concerns, whether it's housing, healthcare. They want a laser-like focus so they can feel like they're getting some relief, or there's an attempt to get some relief. So I feel like the focus has been off.
Your laser-like focus in my notes: affordability, housing, education, in that order. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, affordability is number one, because if you don't have housing, you know, and you feel like the price of food and the price of gas is, you know, stopping you from having a better standard of living, it's going to be a problem. It's going to influence the way you vote and how you feel.
So, David in the back row, also a Republican. I'm curious, because you're 21. I always you and I have been together before, election night many times. And I'm watching you grow into a man, so that is a wonderful blessing to see. But I want to ask you, as you continue to vote as a young man and you're looking at some of these issues, affordability has many in your age group on the political left really lurching towards socialism. But you're not doing that.
That's true. I'm not. I think it's easy to see where the frustration comes from and where the anger comes from. I think that in part is what powered Zohran Mamdani to his election, and we now have a socialist mayor of New York City, which I don't think a lot of people would have predicted a couple years ago. But I think you have to differentiate between identifying the problem, which is the affordability issue, with what are the rational solutions, how do we deal with it, what's the conservative approach, and the more liberal approach.
Yeah, interesting. James, I want to get your view on this idea of health care, though, because neither party really has stepped up and said, okay, well, this is what we will do.
Well, I would say that, you know, this administration has somewhat highlighted, you know, a lot of conversation around vaccinations, around, you know, taking dye out of food.
The MAHA, Make America Healthy Again.
Right. So I would like to see the Democrats now actually kind of co-opt that conversation, right? I have three young kids. I have a 5-year-old son, a 5-year-old daughter, 2-year-old daughter, and a 5-month-old son, right? My wife breastfeeds, right? So those kind of things, that health conversation is real important for our household and my friends as well. So I just would like to see Democrats kind of be, okay, what are we going to do now to kind of say, well, you know, let's have the conversation what health looks like in neighborhoods of black communities like mine that I grew up in.
So that is so fascinating, because when we say healthcare, I think most people think just the cost of it. But you are into the nitty-gritty because the Trump administration has gotten into the nitty-gritty, and you want that from your political left as well.
Well, not left. Take it easy. I'm moderate.
Well, I didn't say far left, though, but you are left of center.
And I think that conversation becomes, as Democrats, they're kind of renaming being a Democrat now, and I'm not left, right? I'm right here in the middle of the sense of being a Democrat. So,
all right, I'm going to meet you right where you all are, because you seem to all light up on that.
Yeah.
Michigan's Democrat Senate primary is a glaring example of what we are seeing from the far left Democrat candidates now. It's a growing part of the party, and critics are calling out Mallory McMorrow, for an example, for deleted posts trashing rural Americans in her own state. Her Democrat rival, Abdul El-Sayed, has gotten a lot of attention for disgusting comments such as Israel is just as evil as Hamas, and offensive comments about Vice President Vance's wife and children. In Maine, moderate Democrat Janet Mills just dropped her Senate bid, paving the way for far-left Graham Plattner. And he's facing criticism for past controversial posts and now covered tattoo that resembles a Nazi symbol. I mean, well, when you see it, you wouldn't confuse it with anything else. If you still think the Democratic Party is not lurching toward socialism, we're going to scroll a list of far-left candidates. Just this season, the list is growing. All right. Mary Josephine, I heard from you earlier first, but I'm going to come to you and then get to Dan.
I really think that it's become so divisive that people, they are lurching far left and lurching far right because they really want that change that I'm talking about. And I think it's because the answers haven't been found, even though they're in the middle. I really think that people want clean water. They want clean air. They want healthy food for their children and for their families. They want a safe environment in their cities. They want to be able to, go to school and learn and not, come out being confused as to what is right and what is wrong. I think it's that simple.
Dan?
I think in the last year, what we've seen is left side of our party start to push for more government role in these exact issues, and issues like housing and affordability, our environment, our city streets. Living here in New York, I can tell you, I'm not exactly thrilled with all of the construction that's blocking the streets, but I'm happy that the potholes are being filled. This is a vision that kind of proposes itself as a way to fix the issues of society.
The socialist mayor's vision you're talking about.
Yeah, in a way that the private market has not for the last 10 to 15 years, and I think it's good to have competition in the idea marketplace.
Are you comfortable with how far left your party's going?
I am comfortable with how far left we're willing to go to help working class people. I'm not comfortable with a lot of what you've just described, where we're attacking people's spouses and children and religious views and these sorts of things. I don't think there's any room for that in politics. We should stay focused on policy. We should stay focused on fixing things, and we should stay focused on a role for government in making people's lives better.
Dominic?
This whole conversation is such a breath of fresh air because, as you know, I'm an independent, and my biggest problem with politics in America in general is I feel both sides are taking more extreme views each election, and we have several people on this panel, Democrats including, specifically telling you, no, I'm a moderate, right? And I feel like things are becoming more centered, where it's not as extreme anymore. Yeah, there's no question. Listen, Trump has some wins and losses so far. I think for me, two of the wins might be immigration and maybe Homeland Security. But a big loss for him is the economy and inflation and the cost of living, which has been a common theme here across Republicans and Democrats. The cost of living is just too expensive. It's just too expensive to live, and everyone here is feeling it. And I think that's where, in the midterms, I think the independents are going to control this election. And I think that, yes, Trump might lose some Republican voters, but I think some of the Democrats are still too liberal, and then that's going to determine where we're going to go.
So that's fascinating. So if you go too far to the left, socialism, even tipping into communism as they open up free grocery stores, that costs $30 million apiece. Well, you're still paying for it.
Yeah.
It's an expensive place to live on either coast, but it's expensive no matter where you are because you've got the American dream and you want that to come true. So I get that. Powerful conversation. It is great to have all of you. I hope you all come back for Voters' Voices.
Donald Trump is now in so much political trouble that even Fox News is broadcasting clips of voters blasting him. A recent panel of voters on Fox said that Trump had made their personal finances worse. An independent in the group called Trump a disappointment.
The change that I was expecting from the president himself, I don't feel in my everyday life, which is concerning to me. I still feel, obviously, that, prices are very, very, very high. If you're going to the grocery store or just in general, because inflation still exists. Unfortunately, now we have the higher gas prices, which really hurt, everyday people in their pocket.
Another independent voter on the Fox panel said the economy was the #1 issue for him and nearly everybody he's been talking to. And this voter, Dominic, said Trump's grade is clear.
A big loss for him is the economy and inflation and the cost of living, which has been a common theme here across Republicans and Democrats. The cost of living is just too expensive. It's just too expensive to live, and everyone here is feeling it. And I think that's where, in the midterms, I think the independents are going to control this election.
Dominic is correct. Independent voters usually control U.S. elections, and it's because of simple math. Voters who do not identify with either of the two major political parties comprise about 40% of the total U.S. electorate. About a third of independent voters say they lean towards Republicans. But among this group, for Trump, the bottom has fallen out.
GOP leaning independents on Trump. In the 2024 election versus Kamala Harris, he got 91% of that vote, nearly 100, near uniformity on that one. But down he goes, down into the deep blue sea, now at 53% on the job approval rating. John, I'm not that good at math, but I believe that is a 38-point drop a 38-point drop from where he was in the 2024 election. As I said, this is a core group for Donald Trump, and they are waving, adios amigos, goodbye. We no longer support you, President of the United States.
But it's not just that Trump-leaning independents no longer support him. The rage that many independents have is unprecedented, and that is changing a dynamic among what political analysts refer to as the double haters. Double haters are the people who tell pollsters they hate both political parties, and usually double haters stay home. They typically don't vote because they find both parties awful and believe that casting a ballot for any party candidate is a waste of time. In this election, however, pollsters have found that double haters are so angry with Donald Trump and the Republicans that many of these independents are going to participate in the election simply to vote against the GOP. The participation passions were evident on the Fox News panel.
So in the past, how many of you have regularly voted in a midterm election? All right, not everybody. How about this time around? Everybody.
Everybody on the Fox News panel is voting in the midterms. And back to the group of independent voters who usually lean Republican. Their support for congressional Republicans since the 2024 election has dropped by double digits.
What we're seeing here, choice for Congress, Republican-leaning independents in the 2024 election. Look at this. They supported Republican candidates by 83 points, but now it's 68 points. That's a 15-point drop again in only 18 months' time. These are not numbers that Republicans win with. These are numbers Republicans lose with. And so what we're seeing right now is that collapsing support for President Trump among Republican-leaning independents absolutely finding its way down ballot, making its way down ballot. And if these numbers hold for the 2026 election, which is occurring in only a little bit about 6 months' time, depending on how you exactly count 6 months, that would be absolutely devastating for Republicans.
Republican voters on the Fox News panel say that Donald Trump only has himself to blame. David, an African-American Republican voter, noted that instead of fixing the economy and tackling the affordability crisis, Donald Trump's time has been largely occupied by foreign policy, including the Iran war.
So I feel like the focus has been off.
Your laser-like focus in my notes, affordability, housing, education, in that order. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, affordability is number one because if you don't have housing, you know, and you feel like the price of food and the price of gas is, you know, stopping you from having a better standard of living, it's going to be a problem. It's going to influence the way you vote and how you feel.
And the way voters feel is impacting a key polling indicator known as the generic ballot question.
On the generic congressional ballot, an average of recent national polling, Democrats lead by just under 6 points.
That is twice as much of a Democratic lead compared to the 2018 midterm elections. Before the 2018 midterms, Democrats led the generic ballot by 3 points. And the Democrats ended up gaining 40 House seats. Some political analysts say the polling data now puts Democrats in range of a historic pickup along the lines of the 1974 midterm elections. Amidst Richard Nixon's Watergate scandal, Democrats picked up 48 House seats. The biggest problem Democrats face this year in 2026 is the perception among some voters that the party is becoming more extreme. Republicans point to New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, a self-identified Democratic socialist. However, people who live in New York City tell pollsters that Mamdani's approach is working and that his administration is getting things done.
Living here in New York, I can tell you, I'm not exactly thrilled with all of the construction that's blocking the streets, but
everything sucks. Objectively, but you know that it's bad when the holy grail of Fox News is just openly admitting it.
Consumer prices rose 3.8% annually in April. That is the highest since May of 2023.
Trump train chugging along.
Inflation is now rising faster than paychecks.
The golden age of America. I'm so happy to be here.
Wages are up 3.6% in the past year. Most of the increase came from energy. This is an energy story, up almost 18%.
Gas prices? Well, they're not coming down anytime soon.
Gasoline specifically, up 28%.
I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris, the gas prices would rise. They were right.
Airfare up 20%. You can see there transportation and clothing rising more than 4% each. Shelter up 3.3%.
Airfare. Spirit Airlines just went out of business. Why? Doomed by sky-high fuel prices due to recent geopolitical events, also known as the war in Iran. Not my words. Spirit's CEO even said this himself. I know that they've had financial trouble since COVID, but he said he had a plan to keep them from going out of business if not for surging fuel costs. And Spirit may not be the only airline in jeopardy. Call me crazy, but right about now seems like an excellent time to have a high-speed rail system in place. Powered by magnets. China's doing it.
So I hope you guys know the story of what is happening right here. This is just a fire back towards Donald Trump and his rant about Fox News. It's crazy. Fox News tell Trump's diehard supporters that this man is raising our inflation rating up to 3.8%. And now their diehard supporters just now figure out that they may have screwed the economy with their vote.
So Donald Trump was just asked in a Fox News interview to his face if he stands by his statement that he doesn't think about Americans' financials at all when negotiating with Iran, and this is what he said.
Pundits jumped all over this statement that you made the other day. You were asked when you were leaving.
What extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
That's right. That's a perfect statement. I'd make it again. But you can imagine how many people stop the soundbite I don't think about America's financial situation. So what's your response to that framework?
It's very simple. When people hear me say it, everybody agrees. Short-term pain. It's going to be short-term pain. But the pain is much less than people thought.
You hear that, America? He doesn't think about your financial situations whatsoever. And it's not like he misspoke or he didn't mean it. He said it again. He doubled down. He called it a perfect statement that he would make again. The guy who told you he was going to lower your prices is not only raising your prices, but he's also telling you to suck it up in the process. Donald Trump, everybody.
Gas prices killing you. Do you want to see how much Donald Trump doesn't care?
Roy in Pennsylvania, he's a retired farmer. He can't handle the fuel going up. And he says
It's going to come down very fast.
And so, look,
disappointed.
I'm just telling you what they
say to him, Roy, Alex, we got a problem. We just hit the highest stock market price ever. But
wow. There you have it, guys. I got nothing. No notes. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. Prices are going through the roof, but hey, it worked for Pam Bondi. Look at the stock market. Sorry, Roy. Sorry, America. He literally couldn't care less. Here's one for you. Play stupid games. Get stupid prices.
Okay, I just literally had to step out for a second because we just got a major warning sign for Donald Trump. And this one, folks, is coming from inside the house. There's a new Fox News poll, and it just dropped. And Trump's approval has hit a new low. I know what you're thinking. Could it go any lower? Yes. 41% approve in the Fox News poll and 59% disapprove. That is an 8-point drop in approval from a year ago and an 8-point climb in disapproval. And, I mean, it's not small potato. This is the highest disapproval he's seen across both terms. And yes, I know this is Fox, which is why this matters. This is Fox. And they're polling registered voters. But here's the part that people in Washington, especially if you're in these Republican group chats, I'm not in them, but I've heard about them, across the country. This is the part that they're really watching. Among Republican voters, Trump's approval is also down 8 points. That is not noise, okay? That is movement in the base. That's movement with the people that you need to vote for you. That's movement with the people that you really need this November. And frankly, this tracks with what we're seeing in the Reuters Ipsos data as well. In that poll, his approval has fallen from 47% down to 36%. Now, look at this chart, okay? The orange line is Donald Trump's approval, and it starts higher and then slides down. The purple line is the disapproval, and it starts lower and it climbs all the way up to 62%. Okay, those lines are moving in opposite directions. Well, actually, they're not just moving in opposite directions, they're pulling apart. And that is the kind of trend that rattles people behind closed doors. I'm talking campaign operatives, members of Congress, people who are literally thinking about the midterms. They see this, Democrats and Republicans, and they start asking very real questions about turnout, about enthusiasm, about whether the coalition is holding. Because the truth is this. It's one thing to have a divided country, okay? We're not new to that. We literally fought a civil war. It's another thing when your own voters start to shift. That is when the politics change. Now, if I were a strategist working for the Dems this year, to be clear, I would be billing extra, okay? Because I'd be very optimistic about November. And if I were a strategist working for the Republicans this year, I would still be billing extra because I'm going to need it, given the beatdown that apparently Republicans are going to take this November.
Right now, what grade would you give the president right now?
A 10.
Why 10?
He's done such a great job with the closing the border, the economy, the inflation's higher. I think he's doing a great job protecting America, and he really loves America.
Welcome to another episode of FAFO, where I bring you stories of MAGA voters that have entered the find out phase of their vote. Now, bear with me on this one because I'm going to read to you this comment as well as the comment chain. John on Facebook wrote the following: I voted for Ron Paul 3 times, but after all these broken promises, I'm thinking out again. No stimulus rebate checks, homeowner taxes that keep saying he will overturn, plus the rising cost of gas and groceries. Keep up the false promises while you travel to China. Time to look elsewhere for the future leader. John leaves another comment saying seniors are struggling to survive and buy food. Janelle writes, if you think this is all rump, you're sadly mistaken, John. There is greed from both sides. Neither side cares about the Americans. They're both lining their pockets. Robin comments by saying, I'm on Social Security. Had to retire to take care of my husband. I found a little side job to help with gas to get him to his treatments in Binghamton. This is crazy. I thought struggling to buy food was bad. It just keeps getting worse. And he said he didn't care about us. Broken promises and lies. Terry leaves this comment saying, same here, John. I voted for him too, and he hasn't done anything he said he would. Taxes are taking retired people and the cost of everything else. Sandy comments by saying, agreed. Voted for him 3 times. American got no help at all. Sad.
Wow, now you know things are really bad when Fox News is forced to have to start slowly putting out stats that go against what Trump is doing right now and is holding him accountable. Really, really eye-opening to me. And I wanted to talk about this closer to when it came out, but my previous video on Black conservatism and other things that came up the week prior have taken up a lot of my time. But even though this panel was on the air, like maybe a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure the date. Maybe it was like at the end of April, early May. So I still think it's pertinent to talk about because we knew that this would happen. I know it sounds super repetitive, but we have to keep saying it because people, like, it's not even just us regular liberals. Even economists came out to warn all Americans that this was going to be the case based upon what his plan was going to be. And I have the screenshots on the screen. Maybe I should start implementing Google screenshots just to put it all out there, because me saying we told you so, it doesn't hold as much weight, even though most reasonable people know that we told y'all so. But okay, but again, I'm going to have it on the screen, and I simply put into Google, just as any common person would probably think to ask. And I put, did economists warn Americans of how bad the economy would be under Trump? And I'm just going to read through this here. The result says yes. Prominent economists across the political spectrum have issued warnings regarding the economic impacts of President Trump's policies, particularly his sweeping tariffs and the attempts to influence the Federal Reserve. These experts have pointed to the rising cost of living and increased risk of economic slowdowns as direct results of his legislative agenda. And it also says here, for detailed analyses on how these policies are affecting the broader financial landscape, you can explore the insights provided by Time Magazine and The Economist, which The Economist is a pretty big platform on economics just in general. And it also says towards the bottom, leading economists, including former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, conservative scholars, so not just liberal economists, conservative expert, and Nobel laureates like Paul Krugman have continuously flagged specific risks. And the first bullet is aggressive tariffs. Economists warned that sweeping tariff policies raise prices, drive up the cost of living for typical families, so the average American, such as the majority of us are, and invite retaliatory tariffs from international trade partners, severely, let's stress, severely hindering American exports. And this was the number one thing people on the left tried to warn MAGA about. The tariffs are going to raise the prices of everything. And we were right. And economists were right, because everything has gone up. And the next bullet point says stagflation risks. The combination of trade barriers and disrupted global energy markets has heightened the odds of stagflation, a scenario defined by simultaneous high inflation and a stagnant economic growth rate. Next bullet point is Federal Reserve independence. Experts from institutions like Harvard University have raised alarms over executive attempts to influence or alter the independence of the Federal Reserve, which they argue threatens to turn the central bank into a political tool. And this last part here says, while some market indicators like the stock market have managed to rise and overall GDP has seen moderate expansion, analysts argue that real wages and purchasing power for typical Americans continue to lag. And the rest of it says, to view ongoing community sentiment and reactions to these economic conditions, see further discussion on platforms like Instagram. So the discussions were everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, our TV screens everywhere. But yet these people wanted to ignore all of the warnings. All of the warnings that things were going to go up, prices on groceries, housing, everything was going to go up, all because he dangled a carrot in front of their faces with some of these social issues that have no effect on these people's lives. Oh, they wanted to be worried about, quote unquote, their words, not mine, the illegals being here and being a danger to society. Oh, the transgender women using the bathroom, making it so dangerous for us women and children to go into the bathrooms, which yet the majority of people, I'd be willing to bet, have never experienced that. And like I've said in previous videos, these were all things that were used to strike fear and make people feel like this is something that's a widespread issue, which it is not. Trump and MAGA have taken one-off instances, which are unfortunate. Like, I definitely don't want children and women to be attacked. And, of course, there are immigrants that are criminals. It's a fact. I'm not denying that. But they're using one-off unfortunate cases to strike fear that every immigrant is a danger to society. Every transgender person is a danger to society and our families and our children. But yet the cost of that, the cost of being, quote unquote, more safe is costing us in our food and groceries, our housing, gas now, our health care. So was all of that worth it for instances and scenarios that you're not even seeing in your everyday life? It's just so funny to me. And these are going to be the same people that approve of what he's doing. Yes, you could say that he is deporting immigrants. That's the only thing that they could say that he's doing, such as he promised. But lowering the prices, which affect us all in our everyday lives, we all have to buy groceries. We all have to put gas in our tanks to get to work or wherever we need to be. We all need health care in case we get sick. We have a whole possible hantavirus situation that could become a thing. It's looking like the odds are a lot lower than it was for COVID, but it's still a threat on our health care, not to mention everything else that we're having to go through healthcare wise. I mean, people are, sick and they need the funds to be able to get treatment. But yet all of that has fallen by the wayside for what? Because they were willing to remain ignorant on these issues when the research was right in front of them. I have screenshots from even before the election. Well, I was able to find this one. Let me not say screenshots. This screenshot from CBS News was dated or it says at least updated on June 25th of 2024. So this was a good amount of time right before the election. So plenty of time to read this and analyze and be like, maybe this isn't as good as he's making it seem. And the article is titled 16 Nobel Prize winning economists warned that Trump's economic plans could reignite inflation. Oh, and this was a straight up foreshadowing of what's happening now, because inflation is definitely going up per Fox News, and what they're finally telling their audience that it's up by 3.8%. And we were warned over this. We were warned, but yet 70 something million people fell for the okie doke because they were promised that other things that were not even significant were going to be addressed. And they ignored the most important part of it. So many of them were like, oh, the economy is the most important thing to me. But yet you ignored the warnings. You knew what he was going to do. He said what he was going to do, and you ignored it. And now you're surprised you're in this situation. Cry me a river and save it for someone who cares, because you totally just negated what you wanted in the first place. MAGA put into office somebody who completely, as I've shown in the video, does not care about what they're having to go through at the moment. Literally said and did not flinch. He doubled down on it, saying that he does not care about how it's affecting your pockets. He is going to do what he wants to do because he just simply wants to do it. And again, y'all fell for it easily and y'all just gave him your vote. It's crazy to me. We see all, and that's why I do my FAFO videos, is because these people had these signs in front of them and could have looked this up. But we know MAGA isn't the side who's going to do their research. Matter of fact, not to plug my own video, but in my historic Black Mayor video, I'm going back and forth with multiple Trump supporters, telling them to give me data that backs up their claims that cities do not do well under Democratic leadership. Like 4 or 5 of them. It's not a video that's got a lot of views, so it's not like a hugely large discussion. But not one of them have come back to give me any sort of stats to back up their claim. Because I'll listen to some stats and analyze them and make my own judgments. But they all like to just come into comment sections and spew all of these things that aren't even true. And when you ask them to back it up, oh, they go crickets afterward. I provided backup in that video, in the comments of that video, I should say. But they always like to say this and that with nothing to back it up. And this man has nothing to back up his claims of everything is doing fine at the moment, even with us being in the middle of a war. He cares about that war more than he does his own people, which he was elected to serve and was chosen to serve again by 70 something million people. Oh, he doesn't care about them. He has a personal axe to grind with Iran over this war. Now, of course, we don't want nuclear weapons aimed at us, of course, but he started this and is causing everything to be more expensive. Gas is the main tool that is used to make the world run, to make America run. It helps get our goods to stores. It's something used to manufacture and farm. And all of these farmers in all of my FAFO videos, fishermen, all complaining about fuel costs. And who was that due to? The man they voted for. But they don't want to explicitly place the blame on them because they're still under his spell. And I wanted to include that one Trump supporter lady. The guy was interviewing at the restaurant, claims he's doing so good, but she said the quiet part out loud, raising inflation. She doesn't even realize that that's a bad thing. Now, of course, she could have misspoke. I'm pretty sure she probably realized it, but it was too late. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. Going back to the articles here, there's ones that There's an article here from the Daily Beast. It doesn't let me read it because it's one of those sites where you gotta pay to subscribe and whatever. But it says Nobel-winning economist warns Trump's economy in worse shape than it looks. So we probably don't even fully realize the effect that this is having on us. And it's probably going to pop up within months, who knows, even years, to where like the effects of it is going to be so hard to catch back up from, even when he's out of office. The other one here from Yahoo News via the HuffPost, conservative, again, let's highlight conservative economists deliver stark Trump warning. Things will get worse. And this was dated a few weeks ago, April 29th, 2026. The one from Daily Beast was dated for October of 2025, just for full clarity. But again, the economists are still putting warnings. It's too late. I mean, the man is in office, and like I said, he's going to do what he wants to do. So we're stuck with this. And now we're going to continue to hear crying about, oh, nothing is cheaper. Gas is getting more expensive. Like, I need my truck to work and I got to spend almost $200 filling my tank up. Well, you should have thought about that when these economists warned you that this was how it was going to be. But you chose to be ignorant because you didn't want to vote for Kamala. You didn't want to seriously consider the candidate who would have had your best interests in mind. And I'm going to continue to say, I told you so, and I'm going to continue to make FAFO videos because we need to hold these people accountable, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'm sorry, I appreciate comments like this, but no matter how many people saying, oh, this is not going to be effective, this is not how we're going to get people to wake up to what he's doing, to really be honest, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not going to just sit there and be like, oh, it's okay, you didn't know. No, you knew. You knew what you voted for, but you're just surprised that it's affecting you. And it's affecting all of us, as all of the experts have, they warned us. But you let the insignificant things like racism and misogyny and bigotry influence your vote. But I hope you realize the consequences of your vote now, because this is what you're getting: higher costs on everything. And now it's more difficult for you to make ends meet. And now it's more expensive for you to put food on the table and keep lights on. So I hope you're getting everything that you voted for. And of course, I had to put my Philip Fafo video with, again, posts like this on Facebook. You could probably spend hours finding people complaining about him that voted for him. But yet y'all could post on Facebook all day, but you can't use that same phone to do research and see that this was going to be the outcome all along. It's just going to keep getting worse. And like I said, I think it's going to not just be a blue wave, it's going to be a blue tsunami in November. That's just my prediction. Of course, I could be wrong. I'm sure we're going to pick up a few seats. It might not be as big as I'm expecting or thinking it'll be, but it's going to be a blue wave. We're seeing it already. And just a heads up, I put the Fox News, the entire interview at the front because I just wanted to let it be known exactly how the interview went with this panel. And I do think that a few of them bring up good points, because I feel that Democrats need to capitalize on the shortcomings of what Republicans and MAGA are ignoring at the moment. And the one Democrat voter, the guy in the back, said healthcare. I feel like if Democrats could make that be one of the things that they're highlighting in their campaigns, they could make even more waves and just try to listen to what the average American is wanting to see change in and make those promises. And I think we will have a really big sweep if they're able to do that. Now, it's still kind of early. I mean, we're getting close. I mean, we are in May, so that gives us another 5 months left, maybe a little less than. So it's time to start seeing these campaign promises hone in on what people are looking for and what people are struggling with and are looking to see in a candidate. And I do agree with that one independent voter, the guy in the front. I do feel like independents are going to make a big difference in this as well. So Democrats are going to have to are going to have to strategize and see how they could cater to the independent voter, because as we could see, like, there's frustration with both sides. And I think what's going to make the difference is who could capture in to the people who are feeling left out. But we're going to see. I think that it's going to be a major change to happen in November. Of course, we're going to have to see. Anything could happen at this rate. Something crazy could happen tomorrow that can impact it. But right now, I'm still feeling confident. But of course, let me know what you guys think about this down below. I'm always in the comments, so I'd love to get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far, you know I appreciate you as always. And if you'd like, please give me a like and subscribe, because that would really help out. And of course, I would appreciate that as well. And that's all I have for you guys. So I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye. See you later.